Holiday fam, what is up? So welcome back to my Divine Wednesday Wisdom. And this is pre-recorded because I'm going to be on holiday. Yes, I am super excited, as you can tell. Yeah, there's just something about it this time that feels different. I don't know why. But it just does, you know? It's just one of those things where you're like, I don't know why it feels different, but it just does. It's one of those moments, I guess. So, because I have a lot going on as I'm getting ready to go on holiday, I pulled the cards before because then I can just go through it a little bit faster. Yeah. I guess I want to do this right now. So this feels like a very spiritual journey, a very in-depth, a very like heart-wrenching journey where this is super deep. This is, you know, if you're really willing to like work on yourself, it's really gonna pull out, you know, those limiting perceptions, some of those past experiences or even trauma experiences that really, you know, change how you interact with yourself and change how you interact with other people. Whether that trauma was when you were really young or maybe, you know, as you got older, right? I've shared different times with my own life experiences. You know, I was molested at a very young age. So it's like it can really alter how you want to interact and connect with people. And sometimes, like I know in my case, this isn't going to be relevant for everyone, but you don't always realize how much it's affecting you and your relationships with others, right? You don't realize it. So this just feels like a very deep healing and deep spiritual journey, and that you are really willing to take the steps to go there, because not everyone wants to go there, right? Like not everyone really wants to dig deep within themselves. Not everyone wants to do that. So it takes a lot of courage and inner strength to do that. So actually today I'm going to start with the Light Seers Tarot. Well, I am using Light Seers Tarot, but Keepers of the Light. And today Brigid, who is a Celtic goddess, is assisting us in this reading and potentially even this week and maybe even further. But here's the card. All right, you can kind of feel into that. There's a lot of fire energy. It's definitely in regards to, as you can see, the flame. She's holding it over her heart, but there's also, you know, some of it over the throat, and then in this area, in what we call the higher heart as well, and where we also can use our discernment. So I'm not gonna go a ton into her, but I do feel this inner strength in this spiritual journey. Like I can tell you firsthand through my own experience, and I can also tell you from observing some of my own clients, like it takes a lot of inner strength to be able to go there, to go to that place that you don't want to go to that void, right? So Brigid is a Celtic goddess of Ireland. I don't know a lot about hers, but I just want to touch on a couple things that I feel like is relevant to this message today. And I feel like this is a pretty specific message if you've been doing the work. So you can call on her to bring her sacred flames to burn away anything that's not serving you, to bless any new projects or ideas you have in mind, and for support with fertility. So And then you can also call on the fiery goddess, Brigid, to light the way ahead. So I really feel as I go deeper into this message, it's really being able to take, this is what I call mental alchemy, right? And it's really being able to turn that negative experience and turn it into a blessing, right? Because there's a lesson within the blessing of it all. And it's really, the perfection of your life and starting to see it that way, because it takes a lot. It takes a lot of tower moments. It takes a lot of change in the mind and how you are perceiving that experience, or how you perceive that experience, because it happened in the past. And also how you want to continue to live your life in the current moment. And that's really, the perfection of your life is unfolding right now. All right, so I have for the first card, restore and replenish. All right, so typically, I use the Sacred Rebels Oracle deck as like a theme, which I do feel like there is a theme, but 4 cards came out today. Typically there's just 1 or 2. And so 4 came out today, and then I clarified these. All right, so we have restore and replenish. We have beyond the mind, the heartbeats, and there's so much going on in this card. I mean, so much. And I clarified, all these main cards. So I'll get to that in a minute. Then you have listening for your truth, right? Listening for your truth. And then after the storm, all right? So there's a lot of movement happening here, and we always go through these cycles and these circles and these waves. It's never a linear experience. So I really feel like this is another layering or an unlayering or an unbecoming, or actually a becoming of who you really are. That's what I feel. All right, so restore and replenish. Okay, I have the 9 of Cups reversed. So typically this is like emotional fulfillment, like wish fulfilled, but with it being reversed and coupled with this card, this, like with these 2, it just made me feel like, maybe you were feeling really small, or you're currently feeling small, but you're going to be moving through that, right? And there's just like a lot of emotions, and you're not quite seeing the whole perspective yet, but there's a lot of rest and rejuvenation that's going on, and asking you to, because she's very much, like this position is like the womb position, that cradling position, wanting that nurturing, that resting, and that recovering. And it's just, you may feel like things aren't moving yet, because maybe if you're currently in this energy, you feel like things haven't been moving, but it is. And if you were in this energy, maybe you still feel it lingering on, right? But it's going to start to lift. It's going to start to lift. Okay. So then we have beyond the mind, the heartbeats, and 4 cards came out. So this card is just, there's so much going on, because you're really seeing a different connection with yourself and the world and with others and all things. Like you're really going through a realization through this process. But right now it's asking you to start to release what the mind is. It's like saying, like, the mind is in the driver's seat, right? Well, let's get the mind out of the driver's seat and start to get the heart in the driver's seat. And this will really help you transition through this process that you're going through. Because then we have death and rebirth reversed. All right. We have the Hanged Man reversed. We have the Six of Wands upright, and we have the Emperor reversed. So between like the death and rebirth Hanged Man, like there is a lot of releasing going on. There is a completely different perspective, and also maybe, and this is why I was feeling it, you know, certain experience from your past or a certain trauma from your past, maybe it feels like it's still holding on to you, like it's still limiting you. And so right now we're really, you know, through Brigid asking you, no, you have this inner strength. You have it. It's deep within you, and it's the heart. It's the core of the heart that is that inner strength. And I say that because it's saying the heart beats. So really starting to listen more to your heart and not so much your mind. Your mind is there it is a tool to help you and to assist you, but starting to listen more to your heart, because you can stay in this past cycle forever, right? You can stay in this past cycle your entire life, and allowing it to basically dictate your life. Okay. But it's saying that you're starting, you know, you're still holding on to something, right? And maybe, you know, it brought you some form of success, right? But it's because of this certain feeling that it brought you, right? This certain feeling that it brought you, or a certain, maybe it was a certain passion that you had, or creativity, a certain creation of that experience, right? Because it's when you have a traumatic experience or a negative experience, there is a certain emotion that is tied to that thought. And sometimes we really get attached to it, because it's like, if you say, for example, like you've never experienced love in your life, like never. So what is your reference point for love, right? So sometimes it can be really hard when you're releasing something from the past, because you're looking for a reference point, but that reference point is not serving you anymore. It's not for your highest and best. And maybe, you know, you're a little bit stubborn in wanting to release that, actually, because it's a certain, like your comfort zone. That's what I'm getting. It's a certain feeling of like, but this was comforting to me. I don't know that it's like I was saying so much of like, oh, I had success in this, but you know, more of that feeling of being comfortable, right? And sometimes it's hard to get out of that comfort zone, and there's a certain stubbornness that is happening, and that you keep reflecting, going back to the past. All right. And a lot of it has to do with wanting to control it, because the other thing I want to say is when you have had a negative experience, it can feel like you've lost a sense of control, and you really want to control things because you never want that experience to happen again, right? So that's completely normal feeling, right? So releasing control and releasing the control of the mind and going deeper into your heart, and this inner strength is within your heart. That's what, you know, you can really call on Brigid. I always feel like I'm gonna say it wrong, you know, so I'm like, hold the phone. All right, so I know this is a pretty deep reading today, but there is always light at the end of the tunnel, right? And it's really asking you to go deep and within that inner strength. And you're going to start to listen for your truth, And I really emphasize your truth, because it's so easy to get distracted, and not just distracted, but also to take on, through society, through social media, through the news, through our parental upbringing, our environment, like all the above. It's easy to take on those ideologies and perspectives and fears of the outside world, right? Because if you think about it, from the moment you are born, you are being trained, right, by your parents, whether they were there or not, right? You are being trained from that moment, and you take that on. So for example, say you have a parent, mom or dad, who is like really fearful that something's going to happen to you, right? Say for example, maybe you have a certain ethnicity, right? Or you're a certain gender, right? Or you have a certain sexuality. And maybe through their own lens, they experienced a very negative, right? And they don't want that to happen to you. So they pass on this fear that they have through their own lens, and they pass it on to you. And so now you're carrying it, right? But it may not actually be true for you. It may not be true. So you're deep diving into yourself, your heart-centered truth, and you're starting to listen to your own truth and not what others are telling you. And so with that, we have the Magician reversed, Tower moment, and the Six of Swords. But the Six of Swords kind of goes from this listen for your truth into after the storm. It's like, it felt like I almost wanted, even though it came out with listening for your truth, I almost felt like, no, this is actually supposed to go with after the storm. So I feel like it's kind of like that bridge between those two cards. So the Magician, right? Like as you listen for your truth, maybe, typically the Magician is really good at manifesting, really good at creating, and being in that energy. And so maybe you're wanting to create something, right? But you're feeling stagnant because of this past experience. Now that may sound weird, right? Because if you think of a certain energy signature, right? So maybe you had this experience, negative experience. Maybe you lost someone, or maybe someone physically, verbally, or sexually did something to you. Maybe you had a certain level of betrayal, or like I said, in your upbringing, maybe there was certain fears passed down onto you. And so that experience, if you keep reflecting back onto it and you keep holding onto that energy signature, your creativity can kind of get stagnant, and you're more in that fear base instead of that flowing. And right, the Magician really creates freely. And what else? I wrote a couple notes, so that's why I keep looking over here. And the other thing I felt too, it could be like unused potential. So, as you're starting to release this past, release certain experiences, you're going to start to tap into this unused potential as you listen to your truth. And that may feel really weird, right? Like I said in the other cards, like getting out of your comfort zone. Maybe you have a perspective that is really different, and it triggers and catalyzes other people, right? But it's like, no, I got to do this. So that can be a place of like creating a new awareness, right? So as you tap into this unused potential, you are actually, what I'm feeling more from the Tower moment is like a new awareness that is coming as you continue to listen to your truth. as you continue to listen to your truth, and you're starting to release this past experience. It's not holding on to you. This energy and negativity is no longer, you're no longer being held down by it. It's not limiting you anymore, and you're starting to release it and move on, so you can, tap into this unused potential, really. And it's a whole like transitioning experience, right? You're going through this transition. She's put her sword down, it's behind her. So you can think of terms of like whatever that idea of this experience that potentially could have tormented you, right? And how you go about your life and the views of the world and how you experience it and how you connect with people, how you connect with yourself and your own maybe like sexuality, right? She's put it behind her, right? And you're through this transition, and you're being led because you're starting to release that control. And so after the storm, when you think in terms of an actual storm, right? There's a lot of tensity, there's a lot of buildup, there's a lot of tension, and then you have that storm, there's a lot going on, and then there's like a release. And it's almost like you take that baggage off, right? Whether it's a very physical baggage, emotional baggage, or mental baggage, you like start to take it off. And, at this point, you're, with this being reversed, I'm really feeling like, coupled with this card, like you're wanting peace, you're wanting clarity. It's like the aftermath of the storm, right? There's a whole clearness coming through that. Your perspective changes, how you want to connect changes, you're listening more, you're trusting your intuition, and you're no longer being tempted. So this is the overall energy of this reading. So it's really easy, say for example, like in a karmic cycle, a really thick karmic cycle. And for those who have been there, you'll understand where it's just this pulling experience to keep you in that loop. And it doesn't always have to be negative, right? But because of the overall reading of this card, I'm just feeling it's more of no longer serving you. This karmic cycle doesn't serve you anymore. Maybe at one point it did, right? Because karmic cycles can very well serve you. They wouldn't be there, right? Otherwise. So it was there to serve you, but it no longer is, but it can feel like, oh, I don't want to get out of my comfort zone. I don't want to get out of my comfort zone. And so, it could be a form of self-sabotage to keep you in this cycle, to keep you in this loop, to keep you more in, I'm trying to think. All these cards are actually really, like, for the most part, I always liked, I will make something negative into a positive. Like, that's one thing I'm always good at. Like, give me something negative, I will turn it into a positive. Seriously, like, put a comment in the video, put a comment after you listen of a certain negative experience. I will make a twist and always make it a positive experience. Always, no matter what it is, And so, this devil energy could really be this more of this self-sabotage. So you've been doing the work. It's saying now, okay, let's move on, but your thoughts are maybe just holding on this because it says the devil. It's just an energy, right? It's not an actual person, it's an energy. So it could be keeping you, because the world reversed, it could be keeping you in a cycle that is actually ready to be closed. And the universe is saying, no, this cycle's done. This karmic cycle's done. It doesn't serve you. You learned what you needed from it. You learned everything that you needed from it in this lifetime. You're just going back and reopening it over and over through that self-sabotage. You're going back and reopening it. But the universe is like, no, your life is there's so much divine perfection in your life. See the gratitude of it all. See the blessing in it all. See the blessing in it all. See the lesson from the blessing perspective in it all. All right. So I know this was a pretty heavy reading today. But overall, I really feel like after Lionsgate, the 8-8 energy, we're all like pushed into this portal and this energy, this vortex, and really asking us to go deeper into trusting our heart, getting us deeper into our heart-centered truth. Because guess what? There's enough people in the world that are not connected with their heart, that only think in terms with their mind, and their heart is actually separate from it. We need now more than ever people connected to their heart, people connected to their heart-centered truth, and starting to lead a life, and others will follow, or you will inspire another to start to lead through their heart-centered truth. All right, so I'm gonna go shake this heavier energy off and dance it off, right? I just did a reel on Alchemy Dance Fit, and the beginning is really just about shaking those energy and thoughts off, right? So I'm gonna go shake it off. All right, guys, I hope you have a grateful day, and of course, enjoy the moment. Much love.